The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
All right, overall, preseason camp to start with. I think, we in last season kind of going into this season, and, one of the big things for us was competing. So everything that we've done up until this point, like we've worked to kind of put our guys in as many competition type situations as we can put them in to kind of help them grow and adjust. Coming into fall camp, I think going like that was spring, summer, coming to fall camp, we kind of want to make sure we kind of continue to keep that the theme. And so our overall theme this year was be the one. And what we're doing is challenging our guys to not sit back and wait. Our theme is Hebrews 12:1 is the verse that we're using, but kind of paraphrase it basically talks about, not sit back and waiting, but going and capturing the race that God's got called for us. And so, that's what we've challenged our guys with is, let's go out every single day, be the best version of yourself that you can be, so that when presented with an opportunity, then we're ready and able to capitalize on that moment. And so, they've done a good job accepting that challenge so far during the fall. And today was the first day, we really kind of get to go on the field live, 11 on 11. We've had a couple little periods in there, but just to kind of really see where we're at as a football team. Pleased with the effort from the guys on the field today. There was a lot of energy. They were super competitive with one another. And that's fun to see as a coach where your team competes and at the same time they took care of each other. Hopefully we come out of here without anything major. We've got one kid maybe we got concern about, but, anytime you do these scrimmages, that's the thing that you scare. We're less than 2 weeks away from playing a football game. But overall, I thought they did a great job today. We finished early. That's a testament to them and their efforts. So we're super excited about what we saw today.
Questions for Coach Clowney?
Coach, one of your coaches told us that culture is the mainstay of this year's team. He said the culture wasn't exactly what you guys wanted it to be with the past 2 years with COVID and everything going on. How is that culture different?
I think the big thing for us is having a full year and a regular schedule. You look at last year, we tried to play a spring season. We practiced, I think, 10 weeks and played one game. And so that took a toll on guys, man. It was frustrating. You do all this work to be able to play, get the opportunity to play. And then even going into the beginning of the fall, there's always that little doubt when you've been canceled. Are we going to get to play? And so we kind of got into it and probably, found out we weren't where we really wanted to be, from an emotional standpoint. But being able to go through the spring, the things that we talk about doing is, Christ is such a big part of our program. And to be able to really sit down with guys and talk about that and get in small groups and them learn one another. And that's really what it was about, is them kind of growing together as a team. Had one of our players, early on in the spring, we're doing a Bible study with Tony Evans, and we were in small groups, and had one of the players come to my office and said, this is the first time I really seen my teammates as people and not just guys I play football with. And so you start seeing that kind of growth and development, them kind of transitioning into understanding, we're all people, we all have problems, but we're in this thing together. And them kind of getting to that point to where they understood one another as people, and they start talking to one another off the field, and it's amazing to watch that communication start transitioning to on the field, because they're people now, I'm not uncomfortable talking to him because I've been in a small group and had a conversation with him before we ever stepped on the field. So a lot of that stuff it has been fun watching a lot of the off the field things we do transition to on the field.
And this is the most normal season for you in the couple of years you've been here at Carson-Newman. What's been the biggest takeaway for you and what you've been maybe able to implement in this first, normal season?
Yeah, I think taking away what's been normal and what's new and kind of meshing that together. There's a transition. Things still aren't completely normal. There's still a long line when you go to Taco Bell and Burger King. But another one thing that really stuck out to me was Mike Van Bruggen, our trainer. We went down on the practice field. He's like, man, this is your first practice on the practice field. And that was this fall. I've been here 2.5 years, and I know this is the first time we get on the field because we didn't have paint last year. And so just a lot of those things kind of stick out as reminders of we aren't where we were, but you just kind of from a program standpoint, there's certain things that we've done that are staples of who we are. And we want to continue to do the things that we've done traditional that still work for us. And so just kind of making sure that, we lead in that way to where we can be, do the things that's traditional, but also, what are the things that we need to do different to kind of transcend and move forward and find them balance there.
First time scrimmaging, the quarterback position is a battle, we were told. So what did you see from the quarterbacks, and do you have any decision behind that at this point?
You know, the good thing with that is me and Coach Pursley sitting over there having that conversation, and it's good because there's still a conversation, you know, from a standpoint that they were both out working, being competitive, not from a standpoint of like, oh my goodness, like what are we gonna do? Like this where I know Zane went in, had a long drive, took guys down the field, and then Ivan comes back in. You know, he's able to kind of reestablish some things, putting the ball in the end zone that last play. So both of those guys are being competitive, and then we got Connor who made a couple really good throws today and made some plays. Is doing a good job being, you know, developing into being a leader. You know, he played a couple games for us last year, so like we're excited about that competition. You know, I don't think we've settled anywhere solid right now, so we'll continue to work to figure out, you know, who we go into the first football game with.
I think on defense, maybe the biggest strength is the depth that you all have this year. What stood out to you as far as, I mean, obviously the defense looked great today, so how's that unit really developing?
You know, I think number one is recruiting. I mean, we were able to add a couple guys in. Major Williams is a guy that's done a really good job for us. And then number two, the guys that we already had here, you know, they've done a good job of getting from point A to point B. We got a lot of guys up front that, you know, I say they've been here 3 years and hadn't played. You know, like they had the COVID year and we only played the one game. And then last year, 1 or 2 of those guys were hurt, so they didn't get a chance to play in games last year. And so now those guys have an opportunity to go out and compete. And, you know, that's where we kind of start seeing a little bit more depth than we had last year. A couple of them that were young, like we threw them in a couple snaps last year. That was kind of part of the plan from the beginning because we knew from a roster standpoint like that we weren't in great shape when we first started. So we brought a couple grad transfers in last year that we felt like did a good job for us trying to help those guys transitioning into being able to play. You know, that's where we had T. Isom, Alexander, but now you see guys like David Alexander, A.J. Hunter, Anthony Triplett. Those guys kind of growing into those roles, and that's fun to watch.
You saw how strong the defense was today, and at the end of practice you said there are a lot of positive things to take away, but there's still a lot to improve on. What are those areas that you'd like to see improve on in the next couple of weeks before you kick off your first game?
You know, for us, the big thing we've harped on is pad level. You know, like playing with low pads is what wins football games for you. You know, there's still points in times where we play with high pad level. Both sides of the ball. A couple plays in space to where we got a chance to make tackles, and we've got to finish those plays. Then, like, they're even on a couple throws offensively, you know, if we can keep the ball in bounds, you know, give ourselves a chance to make plays there. But that's where, you know, capping off that finishing. And then the next part of it, you know, is not necessarily what they do, but who does it. You know, who the other guys going to be that kind of add that depth and continue to go compete for those starting spots, you know. And instead of pouting, we got to make sure that, you know, I'm in Group 3 that, you know, I use those reps as an opportunity for us to get on film and see, you know, because the competition is still wide open. You know, there's a couple of those guys in those groups that, you know, they aren't necessarily wanting to be in right now, but if they can go put good stuff on film, then they still have a chance to compete. You know, I think that's probably the biggest thing that you want to see.
I know we talked a little bit about the culture, but maybe as far as the cohesion is when it comes to maybe understanding the playbook, getting a scheme in place, how has that development and progress been these last few months?
You know, I think that's something Coach Pursley and Coach Slade will be able to talk about when they get up here. But, I mean, last year offensively, you know, like that's where we come in over and over and over again and talk about, you know, finding an identity, you know, and we were doing so much based on, like, you know, who we were playing at this point in time. I think we played like 3 or 4 different quarterbacks last year. So we never found that cohesion that we needed, but just kind of having that time in the spring, you know, hopefully it's given us a little bit better opportunity to gel and understand exactly what we're trying to get done.
I got one for you. How difficult was it? You talk about the depth on defense. How difficult was it to redshirt some guys last year who could have helped you now that you have this freshman?
It was tough because, I mean, that's always a tough call when you have guys that you think can help you, like whether to sit them out or not. But the thing that made it easy was most of them were hurt. I mean, we're sitting and it's like week 4 and they haven't played because of an injury, and so you know, maybe they get back, maybe they don't, but like, you know, the injuries was a real big hamper, and hopefully we can see some benefit from that this year.
Anything else?
You know, one thing I would like to talk about is our coaching staff. I know Coach Pursley and Coach Slade's here, but Coach Galls has done a good job, really good job with special teams, putting guys in an opportunity from a special team standpoint to where they can compete. I think they'll talk a little bit about their staffs, but we had some late coaching additions that, a lot of times, like, you really don't want to happen. But I think the guys that we brought in late from a coaching standpoint has done a great job for us. Coach Weaver, with the running backs, has done a good job of filling in. Coach Zimmerman at receiver. One of the tough things I brag on Coach Story. Brett Story is a guy that from a coaching standpoint, coaches, we're just like players. You go in the final call like a week before the season starts and say, hey, man, I need you to move positions. And, what a team player to go over and has done a great job of coaching our outside linebackers. I think players are always a reflection of their coaches. And I think that's one of the reasons that we can see a lot of the good things happening from our players is because of, our coaching staff.